Alright, I am back with a Hellblade 2 video. This will be my first and only video about this, I think, unless it's in the larger context of Xbox, but I had a review copy. I published my written review yesterday. I was going to record this yesterday, but I was watching my friend's dog, who was a little loud, so that was not really a conducive environment for this. I'll talk about my thoughts on the game and not an exact, copy of my review, but kind of expanding on it a bit more. I didn't like it that much. Up front, I put in my review that I wasn't the biggest fan of the original game. I think it was incredibly impressive from a technical standpoint and from its performances, but as a game, I didn't really love it. I was hoping that the sequel would make some improvements and hook me a little more, with the understanding that, I am not expecting God of War. I am not expecting Elden Ring. I understand what this game is a narrative focused, thing where gameplay is not the first and foremost thing. But it didn't really do anything for me. And, you can say that makes me biased by not liking the first game or whatever, but everyone has different perspectives. I've heard from plenty of people who maybe were sort of ambivalent, really love this game, think it's a big improvement. And then I've heard from people who loved the first game and thought it was one of the games of the generation and do not like this version. So in the game, you're playing as Senua again. This time you are not really on the same kind of personal quest as you were with your dead lover. Here, you are trying to help your people by hunting down this group that is enslaving them and killing them. And to do that, you're stowing away on a slaver ship. This leads you to a new part of the landscape that is being destroyed by giants, just literal, they're kind of like Attack on Titan giants, where they're just sort of big naked people that slam the ground and, affect the environment in some weird ways. It's a little more unique to this. There's a fire one and a C1, and I don't really understand what the last one was. And in between that, you're fighting Draugr, this new, the undead Viking warrior people that are sort of summoned from hell to serve these giants and their evilness. You're fighting bandits and slavers and occasionally golem cave troll people. And you're sort of making your way through the landscape. It's a very short game. My playthrough was about 6.5 hours. I heard some people do it in 5:30. I could see that if you didn't stumble on any part of this at all and just sort of, you can't really race through it because you walk really slowly. But I can see it being that short if you're a completionist. I don't know, 8-9 hours. I don't care that it's short. I like that it's short. It's like the first game. I was not expecting it to just be doubled in length, and they were very clear up front that it would not be. I think there should be plenty of room for shorter games in this world where we have endless live service games, and even one-off single-player games are 20 to 50 hours. So I think it's great that there are smaller games. I understand if people are well, do I want to pay $50 for a 5-hour game? That's a bit of a big commitment. I can understand that debate. Here, the fact that this is on Game Pass to start with, I think this is sort of the perfect Game Pass game because you don't have to commit to that, and it's not that much of a commitment of time. And you may really enjoy it. I know a lot of people really enjoyed it. Yeah, I didn't. I gave it a 7. There are I'll start with the good things. So this is probably the best looking console game I've ever seen. They are doing wild stuff with Unreal Engine 5 here, mainly in terms of the environment. The performance capture, individual people are very good and detailed as well. I think performance capture on a couple other games might be a little better in terms of how it relays, facial expressions and things, but it's extremely good. And the environments are gorgeous. I don't know if I've ever seen landscapes like this. The only game that comes to mind is looking better is Cyberpunk on maxed out path tracing, $2,000, $3,000 PC settings. This is an Xbox Series X, and it looks good on Series S from what I've seen. So the technical aspect of this here is amazing. It's able to do this in part because this isn't some giant open world where you have to render these vast landscapes. It is very linear. It is very self-contained, so I think that helps it be able to do this, but it's still impressive. There are some sequences that are honestly some of the best, environment sequences I've seen in a couple of years. It's just that there's like two of them, and then the rest of the game is like, eh. There's one near the beginning. I'm not going to like go fully into spoilers here. It's just you stumble upon, the Draugr and them murdering a bunch of people and doing a sacrifice ritual. Like it's chilling. The whole segment is like astonishingly unsettling, and the environment design, sound design is incredible. Later, the first giant you fight, the boss fight itself, it's not like mechanically difficult at all. It's just what they did with how it's rendered, how they incorporated the music, absolutely phenomenal. Just start to finish, incredible. Unfortunately, this is like 30 total minutes of the game, and the rest of it is it's so much walking. It's so much walking and like very slow climbing. Like near the beginning, like you're climbing a wall in what looks like it just should be a cutscene, and then I just took my hand off the controller and you just stop, and then you just nudge it a little bit, and then she's doing all these elaborate, like it's not like Uncharted climbing. It's like you're just sort of pushing the stick along in a cutscene. And in a lot, 4 hours of this, I don't know. It's mainly just walking. That gives you plenty of time to experience the gorgeous environments and stuff, but it is pretty dull from a gameplay perspective because there's no exploration here. You're essentially walking in a straight line until eventually you hit either a combat encounter or a puzzle. Unfortunately, both combat encounters and puzzles are not very good in this game. There are only 3 types of puzzles. One is the main one from the first game where you have to like align a symbol in the landscape, and like it's just, I don't find that I didn't like that puzzle in the first game. That's one of the reasons I didn't like the first game, and it's here again and it's still not good. I don't find it interesting. It's like searching around environment for like the one little door, the one little cliff you need to go up on to like turn around and see the right perspective. Like it's not interesting. There are 2 more puzzles later. One involves lighting a certain type of bonfire to like make walls appear and disappear. That's okay. It's pretty good. That one's kind of hard to screw up. Like it's very basic. There's one where you put stones in something to make parts of the environment flip upside down, and it like makes new pathways and stuff. And sometimes you got to turn this upside down, but leave this and blah, blah. Like that one's actually pretty good. I think that's a decent puzzle format. Unfortunately, it's one of 3 puzzle formats, and there's probably like 3 or 4 of those in the whole game. Combat is another thing where they've sacrificed a lot in the name of being cinematic here. Like, I'm fine. Like, okay, we don't find sword upgrades. We don't find health upgrades. Like, I get it's not that type of game. I don't need loot in this. I don't care about that. I get what they're trying to do. But in terms of the actual, the way combat plays out, they have all these scenes where it's like they try to make it cinematic. Like, you'll be fighting someone crashes into them, or like someone grabs you from behind and you stab them. One of your companions runs by. And like some of these scenes, if you were just like watching them, like in a movie, it's sort of like Viking John Wick, where it's like this one take, like badass takedown of enemies. So like it looks cool, doesn't play cool. Like if you're in these like, these 1v1 fights versus these enemies, there's, I don't know, 4 or 5 maybe different types of enemies, all of whom just essentially have 2 sets of moves. Like it's like slash that you block, and then some sort of heavy attack that you either dodge backwards or dodge left and right for. They have removed options from the first game. There are less moves, and combat is simpler than the first game. And you barely even have to, like, if you roll, you'll just avoid almost everything. And so you just dodge, and then you hit them a couple little times with your sword, enough to build up this like little magic mirror meter. And then you hit the button, everything goes into slow-mo. And once you're in magic mirror mode, enemies can't survive you. You will pretty much auto kill them. And then you move on to the next guy and you do the same thing. I died sometimes during these, like if I didn't quite get the timing yet, but like nothing was terribly challenging here. And that's essentially the whole game. It is made up of walking, puzzles, 2 of 3 are not very good, and combat, which is not very good. The segments like later, like there's this cave segment where like you're trying to find some thing I won't say, but like it's all these like tests with the puzzles. It's so long. It feels like it's like a third of the game, And it sort of takes you out of the cool environments because you're just in this dark cave environment like forever. It lasts so long. And then later, pretty soon after that, you're walking through this like foggy, mind melding woods. There's nothing in there. You just walk. You do nothing but walk. And like occasionally you run into one of your companions and they say a couple things. Then you keep walking. It's like 20 minutes and nothing happens. Like it's just walking. And the problem is when you have a 6-7 hour game, you need to have your pacing correct, and you can't have these like really long, bloated, pointless segments that don't have anything interesting in them. It's not like they need to be action packed. They just need to be interesting and have like something in them besides just walking. So I think the pacing gets really screwed up. I think it's good at the beginning. The whole process of understanding the giants are here, finding the first giant's like secrets, and then fighting the giant. That's all very good. Then they just sort of like hit the gas, and the second giant thing is a lot shorter. And then the end of the game is like blisteringly fast. Like it was over before I really even knew what was happening. So that was bizarre. So I don't think if you have a game this short, you need to really understand pacing and do it well. And I don't think they do that. The other aspect that I'm getting some flack for is I don't like the voices in your head, as in like, oh, obviously you're not supposed to like the voices in your head. This is like mental illness and it's supposed to be annoying. But like it made the game like actively unpleasant. Like I think there's a difference between like I'm trying to convey, something and just doing these voices that are so useless. Like it's just noise. Like there's essentially these two voices that are always bickering with each other and they're just narrating literally everything. Like in my review, I talk about how there's like freaking, 1 minute of them talking about a torch that you found. Like, oh, it's a torch. It's a torch. We can light the way. We could do this. We got to go over there with the torch. We can't let the torch go out. And like, it's that, but for like everything, like forever. And there's very rarely anything that those two voices specifically say that is relevant to the story. The voice that comes in that is, I guess it's probably a spoiler, I won't say, but it's like an evil voice that shows up in something. And then like you meet a new thing that also has a voice in your head. Those are a little better, but like the constant narration of the voices in your head is very irritating. I think maybe this would be helped by what you unlock after the game is over. I don't think this isn't a spoiler. It's not, whatever. You unlock the ability to have your companions narrate the thing instead of the voices in your head. That I think would be a lot better. That would have been a more interesting thing to start with, honestly. But like it made it actively unpleasant where I was like, can I turn this off? Like I almost took off my headphones. So you're supposed to wear headphones for this because of all the audio stuff. God, it was so irritating, but you do want the headphones because the sound is like the sound design of the rest of the game is amazing. That is one, really great aspect of it, but, it feels like it lost a good amount from the first game. And I didn't really like the first game to begin with. I did give it a 7 instead of like a 5, even though I don't like a lot of stuff about it, because the stuff it does well, like the visuals are nuts. The sequences I mentioned are really, really stand out. Like it's so frustrating that there weren't more of those in the game as opposed to like 2. So, the things it does well, it does like amazingly, but then just playing it as a game is not enjoyable. I don't like it. And again, I don't need constant combat, but like if you're going to do puzzles, do interesting puzzles. If you're going to do a walking simulator, have that part of the game be interesting. If you're going to do combat, simple combat, make it engaging. Like but it doesn't do those things. So that's the problem. As for like how this game is received, it's reviewing essentially exactly the same as the first one. So great. I think that's a positive result for them. Again, I think this is a really good Game Pass type of game. But if we're talking about like something that's going to make a huge impact for Xbox, the first game was like not really a huge blockbuster. Like it did well and it clearly got a sequel greenlit, but like this isn't Fable or, it's a positive game. I think it'll get some recognition come award season. I imagine Melina, who voices Senua, is going to get a nomination, if not win, for best performance. Like she's amazing as she was in the first game. Best audio design. I think this could easily win best score. If that's a category. Stuff like that. Game of the year? No. Definitely not. While it excels in some categories, I wouldn't put it anywhere close to that. I had way more fun with Stellar Blade than this. And, you could say this isn't supposed to be fun, but like, that's like saying like, you're not supposed to enjoy a good horror movie, you know, a really gross, in-depth, uncomfortable horror movie, but like you can still say it's a good movie. I cannot say this is a good game outside of like some specific elements that it gets right. I don't think it is. So anyway, that's my take. I don't know. It's probably going to be divisive because like half people really loved it. It got some, you know, a lot of tens and things, and some people were more like me and rated it on the lower end of things. And either, you know, a lot of people just were disappointed even if they liked the first game. So I don't know. I'm usually above average when it comes to this sort of thing. I usually tend to score games I think higher than most people. So, and this time I'm lower. All the Xbox people can come at me and yell at me about this, but I will use my Starfield 9.5 review as a shield that like I don't give a shit if this is an Xbox exclusive. I really don't. It doesn't matter to me at all. The only commentary I have is like if this is, you know, good for Game Pass, or like does this help Xbox's first party ambitions? Like it doesn't affect how I feel about the game itself at all. Obviously, but this is not obvious to many people, but not you good YouTube subscribers who are devoted enough to make it to the end of this video. So thank you. Anyway, that's all I got for now. I might do a second video on the giant Destiny balance thing or whatever coming later today, but that, I don't know if I have reading 9,000 words in me, but we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.